For the final video, I want to tell you about two subjects. First, how to use custom normals in our material within Unreal Engine. Second, I want to teach you this. If you had a model where you wanted the edges to be soft, meaning beveled, but you were limited because you couldn't use chamfer weighted normal or soften the edges in other ways, how to use a method to do this work both quickly and without any special trouble. I'll select the model, which counts as a low poly model, exactly the same conditions I said in the previous video about a model wanting to go into Painter. Here, the same subject applies. We delete the decals. Since we have one UV space, we must assign one material to the whole model. After we did this, we take an export of our model. Let me tell you a very important point here. All these methods and all these events happening now must occur after finalizing and after optimizing the model and your UV. Because if your UV changes even a little, all the resources you are building must all be worked from scratch. So keep this point in mind. I'll take an export of this model. We're going to the next software where we want to round the edges very quickly. Well, in this part of the training, we're going to use the newest version of Marmoset Toolbag, version 5. Which is still a beta version, but we can use it and it gets our work done. Now, why do we use Marmoset? Previously, there was no talk of Marmoset in the camp process. This work I want to do now, which I'll show you later, was supposed to be done in software like Blender or 3ds Max, each in different ways that had different bugs. But Marmoset, in its newest version, does this work for us simply, meaning you don't need any knowledge of this software. With this path I teach you, you can do this work very easily. Now, what do we want to do? First of all, let me import my model. To import the model, you just need to right-click, click the Import Model option here, and select your model. Well, now my model has arrived, right? If I want to teach you navigation, when you hold Alt and the left mouse button, you can rotate. If you hold the right mouse button, you can zoom in and out. If you take the middle button, you can pan, just like almost 99% of the software we work with. Now we want to go after the main work. Exactly what work do we want to perform here in Marmoset? Before we go after that event, you must come into the Render menu, Render Mode, and activate the Ray Tracing option, or Ctrl-R. When you hit Ctrl-R, your viewport changes and converts into Ray Tracing mode. After that, you select the material of this object. In this list here, its name is W now, okay? To be sure, you can change its color, see if its color changes or not. Well, in the Surface Normal section, we click once and select the Bevel option. When we select the Bevel option, we bring the bevel samples up to 32, and then we can make the bevel number less or more here. Now, what does this do for us? To have a better understanding, I set the roughness to 0 and the metallic to 1. I come to the Sky section, and from the library, I select one of these skies. You don't need to do this work at all, and I'm merely showing you. If you couldn't find something in the library to use, or if the library size is too much for you, you can download an HDR and introduce it from the Image section so you can use it. Okay. Now, look. In this material and in the bevel section, if I increase this number, the edges of this model of mine are being beveled. Pay attention. And this bevel is completely happening in the material. I have no high poly model, no low poly model, nothing brought here to bake, nothing. I activated an option on my model, on my low poly model. Wherever there's a hard edge, it comes and performs the bevel for me, very quickly and very easily. You define its number based on your need, and done. Well, we made it like this here, meaning in the Marmoset viewport it has a bevel now. How can we take output from it and use it in Unreal? This part is very important. Come forward with me step by step. In this section, there is a bread-like icon that we called New Bake or Baker Project. We hit this. It asks me a question. It says define a path right at this beginning, and here I hit the Yes button and introduce the path where I want this normal that I want to bake to be saved, which, well, I brought into the Bake folder. I also define its format here. You can choose between JPEG, PNG, or PSD, or now as TGA. I select the PNG format and hit Save here. Well, it brings a series of settings for me here. Perform them one by one exactly like me. In the Quick Loader section, we don't need to perform any special work, and we close this window. In this section too, it's not necessary to perform any work. We pass over it. We come here in the Output section, where it defined the path. In the Sample section, we hit this up arrow so it comes on to 32. After we performed this work, we go to Format. This format is exactly like what we do in Painter outputs. Because it's a normal, we set it on 16-bit. Pay attention, we only want to bake the normal, okay? We did this. Done. We go to the Tile section. In the Master section, we set the resolution on 4K for now. We want to bake 4K. After that, it's not necessary to do anything special anymore. Here, we also hit this gear icon for normal and hit the Flip Y option. If we hit Flip Y here, in Unreal Engine, we won't need to go hit Flip Y anymore. It saves it as DirectX for us altogether. Well, this is from the Bake section settings. Now, what I must do is specify my low poly model and high poly model. Well, I have neither a high poly model nor a low poly model here, meaning I haven't defined anything like this for myself. Here, you must come select your model in this list. Hit Ctrl D to take a duplicate. Click and drag the one you took a duplicate of, drop it under the high category, and put your main model under the low category. Well, this goes sit in high, this goes sit in low, meaning you must have such an arrangement. Okay, finished. Now what I do is go back, click on this Bake project, and hit the Start option. I wait for the bake process to finish, and then we go test to see if it baked correctly or not. Well, now my bake is done. It was saved for me here. What I do is take my model out of the Bake project state, so it's no longer a subcategory of low, and I give it a simple material, just this default material, meaning no normal loaded in it. We no longer have that bevel state either. I click and drag what I have here, drop it into this section, and then hit the Flip Y option, meaning Flip Y must be on. Now, if I set the roughness to 0 and metallic to 1, we see that we have that same effect now on our model, but this time it's not from the material, it's from the texture that was baked. So everything is okay now. We were able to soften the edges. Pay attention, this method I'm telling you is mostly for assets that are space fillers. They're not our main assets. They are not assets that the player wants to be very involved with. Things that are in the space and we see them and we want to have a softness in their edges. Well, I came into Unreal and the work I want to perform is to add this normal here. Well, this is added here. The work I want to do, because we must define this subject in our tileable material, we go again into our tileable material, and here, after this flatten normal, meaning between this flattened normal and this normal that I have here, I must come create my own connection. For this purpose, the first work I perform is that I take a duplicate of this texture input that I have, and my placeholder is in it, Ctrl D, and I bring it here. Okay, what is here is going to have its UV as UV0. Why? Because like this red, green, blue mask map, it's going to get the UV information from UV channel 0. But these three that are here are not like this. These must do this work from channel 2. Well, so we don't consider anything for its UV. This from the UV discussion. I select it and name it Custom Normal here. Well, in this parameter window, in this section, we see Custom Normal has come and been placed here. Well, I bring its priority down a little, set it on 3, then I come here and see that Custom Normal came down. Why did I do this? To observe the order. Now, I don't always want to have a custom normal, so again, we consider a static switch parameter for it. We write Custom Normal here. If the answer of this static switch parameter was true, or yes, or correct, we must connect the combination of these two to true. Now that we don't have it and want to build the combination, we go for false. What does false become? the output of flatten normal. Meaning if I don't check this tick here, by default I see the material normal and flatten normal, but if I hit true, I see the result of the combination of these two. Well, how can I combine these two together? I take a duplicate of this same flatten normal combination that is here, bring it down here, connect these together. Okay, here normal intensity must become custom normal intensity, meaning I change its name to be a new parameter. After I did this work, a node exists called blend angle corrected normals. I bring this node, I say, give me your base normal. It becomes this same first flatten normal. It says, give me your additional normal too. It becomes this new normal I brought here. The result of this goes where? Sits in true. Well, my material is very messy right now. Let me teach you how to organize our materials too. In node-based systems, we call these commands we have nodes. We call these relationships between them wires or routes. Now we can do something in Unreal Engine to come and break these into pieces. For example, these items we selected here are in a form that allows me to switch between texture coordinate 2 and 0. Then I can adjust its tile. Now from here on, meaning from multiply onwards, I purely used my output, took it into different inputs. Well, like spaghetti, these keep getting connected to each other, then they twist into each other and we get confused. To prevent this issue, we have a method. Drag once from this output and search for name. It builds a new node. This node's name becomes UV tile, okay? And this UV tile node can now be used wirelessly anywhere else I want. How? Simply right-click and search UV tile, or as I right-click, its text exists for me at the top. I select UV tile. Now, instead of wiring from here to go there, I can use the same UV tile. And this subject has no heaviness for my material either. We are only and only making this structure cleaner. Just that easily. Now I select this, name it UV height, okay? Now let's go for the rest of the items. I bring my texture inputs down, place them here, and hit C to name it texture input. Well, now what I can do is pull this out, hit a name, this name becomes normal. Done. This one is a bit hard because we must take 3 outputs. I do this work quickly. Well, I defined these 3. Now we come here where it's directly connected, so I can come bring my own and directly connect it to this material part. Done. For roughness, we have a structure here with multiply, right? So I come here, load my roughness, give it to my multiply in this form, and much more neatly and stylishly I can bring this up here. Now I can also come put this same one in another name and connect it to material. This is your personal preference. Well, I put a comment, name it roughness. For color, the work we do is that we say, okay, these are actually my dirt colors, this is my dirt mask, this defines the amount and intensity of the mask, for example G. We can repeat this same work again for our next masks. I do this work, while now the arrangement became a bit more logical. We have a mask, these come controlled and these multiplies. After they are controlled, they go sit inside the alphas. This B has lost its connection. Let me connect it here in this form. Each of these also has a separate dirt color. I select the whole thing and put a comment. I name it color tweaking. Okay, now I want to control this wire too. I come here, give a name, it becomes color. We consider 1, 2 for opacity. Well, we go here for our material. From this part, I load the opacity, connect it to opacity, and for this part, in our first multiply, I use color. This is to prevent this messy structure anymore. For metallic, we did this work before, just enough that we load it here and assign it here. We go for normal. In normal, what work do we perform? First of all, we come here and load our normal. This normal goes sit inside this section. Okay, this becomes this. Now we have a custom normal, we have a custom normal intensity. Let your normal intensity stay on 1 as default. We also have a blend here and then a switch. Now, where should this switch result go? It must go sit up there, but it gets crowded again if I want to bring this up there. I come here again, hit a name, and name it custom normal. Well, this custom normal takes a frame, becomes custom normal, and can come down here or be placed in the middle. Now in this section, the work I perform is that I introduce my own custom normal and done. Okay, now my material structure became much more attractive, right? It became much more organized. Even if you don't know anything about Unreal, when you zoom in here a bit, you realize that these are connected and now being used elsewhere, because we no longer have that complex structure where lines go into each other like that. So we did our work, put the custom normal, used the placeholder according to the point we examined together. We return here. Now I select this material, open it. This is my material instance, right? Well, now I come here and I say, where is my custom normal? It's in this section. Do I want a custom normal? It says yes. Now it gives me an input so I can introduce my own custom normal instead of this placeholder. I come to the content browser, select it, click and drag and drop it here. And as you see, we have its effect on the edges. I also activate its intensity. I increase its intensity a bit until we notice this change. Well, because we put decals on this now, and the conditions are such that maybe it doesn't show itself well, but generally it's being applied now. If I increase or decrease the custom normal intensity, we can see its result. Well, this from this. Now what did we learn? We learned how to use the bevel shader in Marmoset, and the next item, if we had a custom normal, how to bring it inside our material, so these normals combine correctly with each other and we see their result. It is not mandatory that you definitely bring a baked normal on your model. You can at all bring a normal related to scratches on surfaces and apply it here. That's doable too, and you can use that method. Well, generally now, the material built here is a very clean and organized material, and at the same time intermediate to advanced, because it has many different parameters. Now, when you spend time on it, by virtue of your need, you can constantly expand it and make it better. As the last technique of this video and the simplest method you can add some details to your work, we want to talk about decals again, but this time differently. What I did, I came, searched for rust leak texture, brought a series of images for me. I select this, copy it, and take it into Photoshop. When my Photoshop opens, I click on the New File option, hit Create from the Clipboard section, and hit Ctrl-V so the image copied there is pasted here. Now, what should I do? Come build a mask for this image. How can I do this? Let me tell you a point too before we do this work. We can use any AI model to make this image larger and higher quality. This is up to you. You can do this work or use higher quality images from the start. Here, because I purely want to explain a case to you, we carry on our work on this image. Well, now what I must do is, because I want to use a decal, we must build an opacity for it. In Photoshop, we can do this very fast. We go into Image, Adjustments, and select Threshold. Well, see what happens here. You have a slider that you can change this, and for example, when you reach this level, it's okay. Before we do this, to not damage our main image, we can come, hold Alt, and take a duplicate from our layer. Come into Image, Adjustments, and select Threshold. Now we build our mask in this form. For example, this becomes what I need. Again, I go into Image, in Adjustments, and here select the Invert option, because I want the part that is white to stay as leaks, where it's black to become the work background. Okay, I perform this work now, and the only work I must do is come and delete the places I don't need. Where do I not need? This bottom part. Because wherever I want to put this leak, a line falls in its bottom part, which doesn't have logic. If it has logic for you, you can keep it. Well, here it doesn't have logic for me. So what I do is, I hit the B button from the keyboard. My brush is selected. I make my brush color black and start brushing here. Okay, this is my mask now. Now how can I take my mask and implement it on my main layer? For this work, we select the layer we built the mask on. We hit the M button from the keyboard and select this entire space. We hit Ctrl+C, so what happens? Its information is copied. We don't need this layer anymore, and we can delete it. Now we go into the Layer section, and here in the Layer Mask section, we come here and click the Reveal All option. It builds a white mask for us. We hold Alt, click on it, and hit Ctrl+V in this same space. We pasted the information we built in the first layer. We return to our layer. Click. We return to the layer. As you see, we were able to delete our background very easily. Now how can we save it? We hit Alt and Control and Shift and S. Let the Save window open. Here you must definitely save as PNG, and here I click the Save option. We save it as T_leak and hit Replace. Now we return into Unreal Engine. In Unreal, what we must do is go to Content and import this texture of ours, which I do very easily with click and drag. Now when we perform this work, what we must do is return to the material. Take a duplicate from this label decal of ours and name it M_decal and then open its material. Well, this material opened for us. What we must do is delete the normal and ORM, and here in base color we can come and select this thing we had, in the texture, this leak, and load it here. Well, let me tell you this point too. We must observe those placeholders in all materials, meaning here we must change decals too. But well, because our time is limited, I won't do this work and leave it to you. Okay, this is okay now. What I must do is hit Apply, go to Content Browser in the Material section, take an instance from this decal I had, and name it M_I_decal_leak. Now we go into our level. I want to add what I had here, for example, on this section. The only work I must do is come, take this leak, drag and drop it into the scene. Now we come here and select the Surface Snap option. Take from this sphere and snap it on our surface, and we must adjust it. We come here, I adjust its rotation, bring it down like this. We can turn these off, make our scale smaller, and we can place it here. Well, how can we control its intensity? We can do this work in different ways. One of the best methods is to come define it for opacity. We come here, consider a multiply for opacity. Give this to opacity, consider an S and name it opacity. Well, I set its default to 1, and here I hit Apply. Well, saved it for us. We return here, I open the material, and here I activate the opacity. Now we can make its intensity less or more. We can even make its size smaller like this. Well, we've now learned how to use all models of decals in our project. You can build decals yourself. You can use ready-made images. You can use Quicksilver, and there is no limitation for you in this field. Once we learn the formula and format, we can perform very diverse works. Okay? Generally, now we've learned all the items we need to complete our scene. Only Day 4 remains to talk about single assets. Single assets are those that don't have material yet, or things that are going to go into Painter for material processing. An important point that exists is the Day 3 exercise discussion. For the Day 3 exercise, I want a video and a series of screenshots of the materials you built, meaning at least one tileable material, at least one decal material. All parameters are completely put. Order, naming, grouping all happen correctly. And you must send me a screenshot from that shader material graph section, meaning one screenshot of the material editor in this form, so I see you've organized these because it's very important. And you also send a screenshot from the parameter section in the material instance window, so I see how you managed and categorized these. This from this material section in this form. I'll put the models of this scene completely at your disposal, meaning models with decals on them that I used in the project. You can change these or use exactly these and arrange them in your project. Now, where is your exercise? The main assets of this scene are floor and wall and ceiling. You must complete these by the end of Day 3 exercise opportunity. You complete them, arrange them in the scene in any form you want. You want its material to have dirt, not have, simple, or anything. You complete them, arrange them in the scene, and you take a video of your scene where you move in the scene and everything is clear. This up to here of the story. Well, what about the rest of the assets? If you found the chance, you work on the rest too. If you didn't find the chance, use all the models I gave you and pass over that model and UV and collision section. But the main parts, and if you modeled some parts yourself, you must perform all those works on those parts yourself. I'll put the assets at your disposal for the rest of the parts so you can use them. So finally, screenshots of material and models are arranged in the scene completely. And you take a video of the scene and that movement of your character in the scene and send it in the group. This is from the exercises section. Now, if you had extra time or wanted also to practice the trim sheet section, instead of coming to build a complete alpha sheet, you can define 2 or 3 strips and trims for your pipes section and material process your pipes with that trim sheet. This from the totality of Day 3 exercises. Let's go for Day 4.